In a prosperous city in West Africa, a place with palm-lined streets and luxurious villas, lived Mr. and Mrs. Adama. This influential couple, respected in the highest circles, embodied success. Their immense home was a modern palace where every room gleamed with ostentatious luxury. The Adamas were proud of their ascent, rising from almost nothing to become iconic figures of wealth and generosity. For them, parental love was measured in lavish gifts. Alpha, their eldest son, received his first luxury car at the age of 16, and every birthday was marked by an even more extravagant present. The twins, Malik and Ibrahim, inseparable since birth, lived in a world of privileges where whims were fulfilled instantly. Solly, the only daughter, received clothes and jewelry fit for celebrities, while the sweet Awa, the youngest, basked in constant attention. For Mr. and Mrs. Adama, imposing limits seemed like an act of cruelty. The strict upbringing they had known, marked by values of discipline and respect, felt outdated. "Our children will never lack anything," they often proclaimed, convinced that this excess of materialistic love would shield them from all misfortune. However, beneath the shine of this prosperity, a shadow was growing. Alpha, handsome and charismatic, developed an unbearable arrogance. He rejected all criticism, certain the world owed him everything. Solly, captivated by the world of social media, spent her days posing in expensive outfits, sharing a dream life to impress her followers. The twins, on the other hand, were more discreet, but gradually drifted towards circles where temptation and excess reigned. And Awa, impressionable and seeking approval, began to disrespect simple household rules. The Adamas' daily life was an endless waltz of lavish parties and grand trips. Yet, between the laughter and champagne toasts, small disputes and evasive glances betrayed a dissonance. The children, accustomed to receiving everything without effort, became incapable of appreciating the simple things. The values of humility, hard work, and respect, once cherished by their parents, seemed lost in the whirlwind of abundance. This period, seemingly marked by carefree bliss, laid the foundation for a drama that was soon to erupt. The Adamas, blinded by their love and fear of disappointment, could not see the storm brewing in the souls of their children, weakened by an upbringing lacking solid grounding. Before we continue, please feel free to let us know from where you are watching. Subscribe to our channel so that you will not miss any upcoming video. As the years passed, the Adamas began to notice cracks in their system. Alpha, now a young adult, had sunk into a world of shady dealings. He used the family's wealth as a shield to conceal his dubious activities and avoid the consequences of his actions. With his natural charm, he easily manipulated others to get what he wanted, but this ease only fueled his oversized ego. The twins, Malik and Ibrahim, shared a bond that went beyond typical sibling relationships. Unfortunately, this closeness became the engine of their downfall. Together, they explored endless nights filled with deafening music and illicit substances. They frequented questionable individuals for whom the concepts of danger and boundaries were non-existent. Gradually, their personal ambitions faded, replaced by an incessant quest for immediate pleasure. Solly, obsessed with the image of a luxurious life she displayed on social media, racked up colossal debts. She spent without restraint on designer clothes, hosted lavish parties, and traveled to exotic locations solely to post enticing photos. Unfortunately, her growing virtual audience was inversely proportional to her mental health, with every like fueling her deepening insecurity. The youngest, Awa, was the one the parents hoped to save from this spiral. Yet her need for approval led her into questionable circles of influence. She sought to please and fit in, even if it meant abandoning her principles. Gradually, she adopted behaviors far removed from those her parents had tried to instill, and her transformation became a growing source of concern. Although aware of their children's missteps, the Adamas chose avoidance. Shame and the fear of losing their children's love paralyzed them. They preferred to compensate for the problems with more gifts and indulgence, believing that money could still solve everything. However, this strategy of willful blindness only deepened the cracks within their family. It was a time when appearances prevailed over reality, where every smile hid a suppressed tear, and where the shadow of decline spread inexorably over the Adamas. The morning when everything collapsed would remain etched in the Adamas memory as the day their golden world crumbled. Malik and Ibrahim, once inseparable, found themselves at the center of a police operation. Malik, arrested for drug trafficking, was taken away under the curious gazes and murmurs of their neighbors. Ibrahim, in a panic, tried to flee, but the chase ended tragically with an accident that left him seriously injured. Alpha, their eldest brother, was already untraceable. Wanted for a fraud scandal that had come to light, he lived on the run, further shattering the Adamas image of respectability. Meanwhile, Solly, unable to repay her massive debts, was evicted from her luxurious apartment. With no other options, she turned to humiliating means to make ends meet, leaving behind the world of glitz and glamour she had so eagerly pursued. As for Awa, the youngest, her descent was the most heartbreaking. Addicted to substances that consumed her, she became a stranger to her own parents, her vacant eyes reflecting the immense emptiness within her. Mr. and Mrs. Adama, now alone with the consequences of their choices, were overwhelmed by indescribable shame and regret. Their wealth, once seen as a symbol of pride and success, had turned into a slow poison, destroying the foundations of their family. They realized, too late, that they had failed in their role as guides. The lessons they had neglected to teach had backfired, leaving their children at the mercy of their own flaws. In the vastness of their now empty mansion, the Adamas sank into heartbreaking solitude, each luxurious object becoming a silent witness to their tragedy. In their final years, Mr. and Mrs. Adama decided to transform their pain into a final act of love and transmission. As loneliness became their companion, they penned a letter considered their moral testament. This cry of love and sorrow still resonates in the hearts of those who have read it. We thought loving meant giving everything and correcting nothing. We confused indulgence with kindness. Today, we understand that to love is to guide with firmness, to impose limits, to teach discipline, and to nurture respect. They urged families to learn from their failure, hoping their tragedy would serve as a beacon. Their poignant letter was published in local newspapers and read at community gatherings, becoming a central topic of reflection. Within the community, this public confession had a transformative effect. Discussions about parental values and the meaning of love were reignited. Many parents, moved by the Adamas story, began reevaluating their own approaches. The idea that parental love is not measured by material wealth, but by the ability to impart solid values took root. Their mansion, once a symbol of prosperity, was transformed into a community learning center for youth. Here, responsibility, self-management, and respect for others were taught. Thus, the Adama name, once associated with wealth, became synonymous with renewal and wisdom passed down. The story of the Adamas echoes powerfully in collective memory. It highlights an enduring truth. Wealth, though it can open doors, cannot fill the voids left by the absence of solid values and well-anchored principles. This family tragedy reminds us that parental love is much more than boundless generosity. Saying no, at times, is the purest act of love. It is teaching resilience, responsibility, and the appreciation of effort. It is giving children the tools to build a future not on temporary privileges, but on solid and lasting foundations. By honoring the Adamas, the community learned that a true legacy is not measured in possessions, but in the moral and spiritual impact it leaves behind. This poignant tale thus becomes a precious lesson for all generations to educate with love, discipline, and respect is the greatest gift a parent can give their child. We have come to the end of the story. If you have appreciated, subscribe to the channel and like and share the video. See you on our next video. Bye.